At 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, 1999, every computer screen in the world should have gone black. Banks should have collapsed. Power grids should have failed. Airplanes should have fallen from the sky. They didn't. But in the months leading up to that midnight, something far more valuable than electricity or data had been purchased on a scale never seen before. Time itself had become a commodity. And one company had quietly cornered the market. This is another video where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. The story begins with a bug that wasn't really a bug. The Y2K problem, as it came to be known, was born from a simple cost-saving measure. In the 1960s, when computer memory was expensive and space was precious, programmers abbreviated years to 2 digits. 1965 became 65. 1978 became 78. The logic was sound. The consequences were not. As the millennium approached, computers wouldn't know if 00 meant 1900 or 2000. Banking systems would crash. Nuclear reactors would fail. The global economy would collapse into digital darkness. At least, that's what the world was told. The fear was real. The profits were even more real. In 1995, a small consulting firm called Global Systems Dynamics occupied 3 floors of a Manhattan office building. By 1998, they had expanded to 47 countries. Their business model was elegant in its simplicity. They sold tomorrow. GSD didn't fix Y2K problems. They manufactured Y2K anxiety. Their army of consultants would arrive at corporations with thick binders of catastrophic scenarios. Oil refineries exploding. Pension funds vanishing. Supply chains collapsing into chaos. The pitch was always the same. Pay us now, or pay the price later. What GSD understood before anyone else was that Y2K wasn't a technical problem. It was a trust problem. And trust, once shaken, becomes the most expensive commodity on Earth. The company's founder, Marcus Kellerman, had learned this lesson working for the Pentagon during the Cold War. He specialized in something called scenario warfare, imagining disasters so vividly that generals would spend billions to prevent them. Y2K was scenario warfare for the corporate world. Kellerman's strategy was mathematically precise. First, identify every possible failure point in a company's systems. Second, calculate the worst-case financial impact. Third, present solutions that cost exactly 20% less than total catastrophe. The psychology was flawless. No CEO could risk being the executive who ignored Y2K and destroyed their company. The safe choice was always to pay. GSD charged $500 per hour for junior consultants. $2,000 per hour for senior partners. They billed in 6-month minimums. Payment in advance. By 1998, they employed 12,000 consultants worldwide. Their revenue exceeded the GDP of small nations. The brilliant cruelty of their model was that success was invisible. If nothing happened on January 1st, 2000, GSD could claim credit. If something did happen, they could sell more consulting to fix it. They had monetized both fear and relief. The company's internal documents, leaked years later, revealed the scope of their operation. They maintained detailed psychological profiles of executives at Fortune 500 companies. They tracked which industries were most susceptible to panic. They had algorithms that calculated the optimal level of fear to maximize profit without triggering paralysis. One memo, dated March 1998, stated simply, "We are not selling technology. We are selling time. Specifically, we are selling the illusion that time can be purchased." The illusion worked. General Motors paid GSD $340 million. British Airways paid $180 million. The state of California paid $250 million. The global Y2K remediation market reached $600 billion. GSD captured approximately 15% of it. But the real genius wasn't in the money they collected. It was in the dependencies they created. Every company that hired GSD became reliant on their expertise. When other technology problems emerged, who did they call? When new regulations required compliance, who understood their systems? When the next crisis arrived, who had their trust? GSD had purchased something more valuable than contracts. They had purchased relationships. The company went public in September 1999, 3 months before the millennium. The IPO raised $4.20 billion. Kellerman became one of the richest men in America. On January 1, 2000, the world didn't end. A few minor glitches occurred. Some credit card machines malfunctioned. A few government websites displayed incorrect dates. Nuclear reactors continued generating power. Banks processed transactions normally. The catastrophe that justified $600 billion in spending never materialized. GSD's stock price doubled. The market interpreted the lack of disasters as proof that Y2K remediation had worked. No one questioned whether the disasters would have occurred anyway. No one calculated the cost of prevention versus the probability of problems. Fear, once monetized, creates its own logic. The aftermath revealed the true scope of what had happened. Independent analysis suggested that 85% of Y2K spending was unnecessary. Most systems would have functioned normally without any intervention. The bug that threatened to destroy civilization was largely a myth. But the money was real. The companies that collected it were real. The precedent they established was real. GSD had proven that entire industries could be built on manufactured urgency. That expertise could be created by creating problems only you could solve. That the most profitable business model was selling protection from threats you defined. The names have changed. The behavior hasn't. Today's technology companies employ the same playbook. Cybersecurity firms that profit from the threats they discover. Cloud providers that create dependencies on systems only they control. Social media platforms that monetize the attention they fragment. The Y2K crisis established the template for the modern technology economy. Create a problem. Sell the solution. Capture the relationship. Repeat. The difference is scale. Y2K lasted 3 years and generated $600 billion. Today's technology dependencies are permanent and generate trillions. We learned to fear the machines turning off. We never learned to fear the companies that control them turning on. The companies that bought the world's time in 1999 taught the world a lesson it has never forgotten. Panic is profitable. Dependencies are more valuable than products. And the most successful businesses sell protection from disasters that exist primarily in imagination. The millennium bug died on January 1, 2000. The business model it created lives forever.